For more than 10 peaceful years, Daniel and Marissa Carter lived in the quiet, tree-lined suburb of Maplewood Grove. Their home stood on a corner lot, surrounded by rose bushes that Marissa tended each morning while Daniel waved to neighbors from the driveway before heading to work. To anyone who lived nearby, they were the ideal couple, polite, reliable, and seemingly devoted to building a quiet, stable life. Daniel worked as an accountant at a regional finance office, while Marissa volunteered at the community library and served cookies at neighborhood events. They blended in so effortlessly that no one ever questioned their past. No one ever wondered where they came from, or why they always avoided conversations about family. No one imagined that the couple they admired was living behind layers of secrets. The unraveling of their carefully crafted lives began not with a major investigation, but with something trivial, an administrative error involving Daniel's driver's license. He had walked into the DMV on a bright Tuesday morning to renew the card he had carried for almost a decade. The clerk, a woman who had processed hundreds of licenses, scanned Daniel's ID without suspicion. But the computer system behaved strangely. A red notification popped onto the screen, duplicate ID number active in another state. The clerk assumed it was a simple data error, but protocol required her to file a routine report with local law enforcement. Daniel remained calm while the clerk apologized for the inconvenience, but as he walked out of the building, a flash of worry crossed his face, so brief and so subtle that no one noticed. Detective Lena Morris was the kind of investigator who rarely let anomalies go unexplored. She had seen her share of identity theft cases, credit card scams, and clerical mistakes. But something about Daniel Carter's profile immediately stood out. When she ran his information through national databases, she discovered that his identity had no history prior to 11 years earlier, no school records, no tax filings, no medical history. It was as though Daniel Carter had simply appeared in the system one day, fully formed. Intrigued, she searched for records on Marissa Carter. The results were identical. A sudden digital footprint that began in the same month as Daniel's, with no trace of who she was before. Detective Morris decided to visit them. The Carters welcomed her warmly into their living room, offering tea and polite smiles. Daniel answered her questions with a practiced calm, so perfectly measured that it felt rehearsed. Marissa stood by his side, nodding gently, but her hands trembled ever so slightly each time the detective asked for clarification. When Lena left their home, she was not convinced they were criminals. But she was certain they were hiding something. Over the next several days, Lena initiated a deeper background check. She reached out to different states, cross-referencing birth certificates, scanning employment histories, and examining federal records. Slowly, a shocking truth emerged. Daniel and Marissa Carter were not their real names. Their legal identities had been stolen from deceased individuals with no living relatives, an old tactic once used by fugitives to create stable, undetectable lives. Their true names were Evan Grant and Lily Shaw, former financial analysts who had worked at a large investment firm in Denver, Colorado. 11 years earlier, that firm collapsed amid a massive fraud scandal involving millions of dollars in missing funds. Investigators determined that the fraud was an inside job, orchestrated through manipulated accounts and encrypted transactions. When the scandal broke, employees were questioned one by one. Some were implicated, others cleared. But Evan Grant and Lily Shaw were never interviewed. They had vanished before the investigation even began. At the time, police believed Evan and Lily might have been victims of circumstances, perhaps frightened by the scandal, overwhelmed, or targeted by the real perpetrators. But suspicion grew when investigators learned that both had cleaned out their bank accounts, abandoned their apartments, and cut off all communication with friends, colleagues, and even family members. Despite years of investigations, no definitive link had been proven between them and the missing funds. Yet their disappearance made them persons of interest in one of the largest financial crimes in the region. Detective Morris found even more disturbing information. Before they became Daniel and Marissa Carter in Maplewood Grove, the couple had lived under two other stolen identities in two different states between 2009 and 2012. Each life was simple, quiet, and brief, designed to gather stability and restart if anything seemed suspicious. They moved every few years, changed names, and rebuilt themselves. 3 different lives. 3 identities. 1 couple. This was no impulsive escape. It was a long-term strategy. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Detective Morris prepared an arrest warrant. She coordinated with federal authorities and assembled a team to apprehend the couple. Officers discreetly surveilled the neighborhood, watching for any movement from the Carters' home. But as dawn broke one chilly morning, when the team moved in, they found the house silent. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the home was meticulously clean, as if no one had ever lived there. The furniture was neatly arranged, the refrigerator wiped clean, the closets empty. On the kitchen counter sat a single envelope. Detective Morris opened it carefully. Inside was a handwritten note. "We never intended to hurt anyone. We only wanted a peaceful life. Thank you for giving us more years than we ever thought we'd have. We hope you understand that leaving is our only choice." There was no anger, no attempt to lie, only a sense of resignation and quiet farewell. The couple knew their time in Maplewood Grove was over. In the hours that followed, investigators searched the property thoroughly. In the attic, they discovered a small, hidden compartment containing several sealed pouches. Inside were false passports, prepaid cell phones, encrypted USB drives, and a collection of news clippings from the original financial scandal. Every item suggested preparation not of a crime in progress, but of 2 people who expected to flee at any moment. 2 days after the Carters' disappearance, a suspicious financial transaction was flagged overseas. A transfer had been made into an account located in a small European country known for strong privacy laws and limited financial oversight. The account was tied to a newly issued identity, one that had been created only days earlier. Investigators could not prove the account belonged to Evan and Lily, but the timing, method, and digital signature pointed unmistakably toward them. The news shocked Maplewood Grove. Neighbors who had once trusted the Carters now questioned everything they thought they knew. At block parties, residents whispered about the quiet couple who had slipped through their fingers. How had 2 people, living in plain sight, managed to deceive everyone? Why did they choose Maplewood Grove, and why did they leave so easily? Many felt betrayed. Some felt unsettled, fearing what else the couple might have been capable of. But others felt sympathy, wondering whether Evan and Lily were truly criminals or simply people trapped by past circumstances. Despite extensive efforts by federal investigators, Evan Grant and Lily Shaw have never been located. They left no digital trail, no traceable signatures, and no pattern that could help authorities determine where they went next. Their ability to erase themselves from one life and rebuild in another suggests skill, patience, and a remarkable understanding of identity systems. In the years that followed, Maplewood Grove quietly returned to its peaceful rhythm. New families moved into the Carters' old home, repainting the walls and planting new flowers. But longtime residents never completely forgot. Sometimes, during neighborhood gatherings, someone would bring up the Carters, their calm smiles, their polite gestures, their seemingly perfect life, and wonder aloud what their real story had been. Were they masterminds behind a multi-million-dollar fraud? Or were they frightened employees caught up in something larger than themselves? Had they stolen money to survive, or were they running from someone else who posed a greater threat? To this day, no one knows. All that remains is a decade of memories held by neighbors who unknowingly lived beside 2 fugitives, 2 individuals who created entire identities, crafted entire lives, and walked away when the truth crept too close. Evan and Lily are remembered not as the criminals authorities once suspected, nor as the innocent couple they pretended to be, but as shadows, people who mastered the art of becoming invisible, who slipped through the cracks of society, and who disappeared before anyone ever learned who they truly were. Their story stands as a reminder of how little we sometimes know about the people living next door. In Maplewood Grove, the couple who lived 3 lives proved that even the quietest streets can hold the most astonishing secrets that may never be fully uncovered. And somewhere in the world, perhaps under yet another name, Evan and Lily continue to live a life built on reinvention, always one step ahead of the past that follows them.